Details and tips on the QT model Dolphin DeltaWing. It's a 50mm EDF jet. Very nice looking aircraft. Mine is stock except for the landing skids that I had to fabricate for mine. The decals all come pre-applied. I'll show you exactly what you have to do in the assembly. The assembly is very minor. And isn't that a nice looking DeltaWing? I think this is the first DeltaWing that I've had that has a functioning rudder on it, so I think that's pretty cool. Alright, so here's the inside of my battery compartment. So it comes with a Hobbywing Skywalker 20 amp ESC. It's set up stock for 3S LiPo. I have a RadioLink bind DB gyro in mine because it also has a rudder channel. My receiver is a WFly RF201S S-Bus receiver. I found that with the Nanotech 3S 1500 milliamp hour 35C LiPo that I'm using in this aircraft, if I have it loaded all the way to the front, I can get a neutral balance at 355 millimeter back from the tip of the nose. In the specifications, the specified CG is 350 millimeters to 360 millimeters back from the tip of the nose. So I split the difference at 355 millimeters. I have a neutral balance there. The aircraft is very, very solid, very stable, and well behaved with that balance at that CG. So I'm happy with that. I have some smaller LiPos I'm going to test it with also. I have some 3S 1300 milliamp hour LiPos, which are a little more shorter form factor, but they're a little bit taller. And I found that when I have those pushed all the way to the front, I can't quite get the canopy closed. So I beveled the foam at the very front of the canopy so I could get it closed over those 3S 1300 milliamp hour LiPos, and that worked just fine. Not a problem. Just had to remove a little bit of foam at the very front edge. Part of the assembly is control horns. You have control horns for the elevons and for the rudder. So you have 3 control horns that you need to install. Each one comes with 4 screws. It has a front and a back, of course. So I just used the screws to attach mine. I didn't use any glue or anything. They're nice and solid, so you're not going to have to use any glue during the assembly for this aircraft, which is nice. Okay, so here is the vertical stabilizer, which you have to install, and it's a little bit tricky. So what I did was I rotated the servo control horn until it just had about 10 to 15 degree angle in it, and then I rotated the vertical stabilizer ever so slightly to slide it down over top of the servo, because the servo is all pre-installed. So once I got that seated and in place, I had to use needle nose pliers to pull the control horn back out through the slot. And what I found was when I was actuating the rudder at 100% dual rate, it was impacting the end of the slot here for the servo arm. So I took a Dremel tool with a cutting wheel on it, and I extended the ends of this slot here for the servo control arm about 3 to 4 millimeters in each direction. That gives it plenty of clearance so that your servo is not going to be binding up on the ends of that slot. I recommend that you do that, or set your dual rate on your rudder so that the control arm reaches its maximum travel before it gets to the end of the slot. Either way, I would do that. It's just got 2 screws to hold the vertical stabilizer on. Again, no glue. There is a foam tab down here at the bottom of the rudder on the vertical stabilizer that keeps the rudder in place in case you don't want to use the rudder. You don't have to. You can fly it bank and yank. You could remove the servo if you want to and just fly it bank and yank. But if you're going to use the rudder, you need to use an X-Acto knife or a utility blade to cut that little foam tab that locks the rudder in place before you install it. Alright, so the nose cone is held on with 2 magnets. It just slides over a little raised foam portion, and I'll show you that in a minute. My aircraft, I always put a Velcro patch on the bottom of the nose just in case I need to add any nose ballast weight. You know, most of the planes that I've run into, if I need ballast weight, it's almost always nose ballast weight. You know, they're almost all, if they don't balance well, they're typically a little bit tail heavy. So I always put this patch on there just in case when I take it out to the field and fly it the first time, I have the ability to attach nose ballast weight. This also had the benefit, I put the Velcro patch across the seam here where the magnetic nose attaches to the fuselage, so it also acts like a hinge. So you can still open it, and here it is. I've just got a little Velcro buckle in here and the hinge to hold it open. But so instead of the nose cone coming completely off, it's got a little Velcro hinge on there now. So if I need to open it up, I can open it up, but it's not going to fly away on me. You know, if I impact the ground kind of hard, it might open up like it is right now, but it's not going to fly away. So I like that setup. All right, here is the Elevon servos, and the design on this aircraft is really, really nice. I like the way they set this up. This is really nice. You know, their servos are all flush, and these pockets in the main wing. They also have these protectors here that not only protect the servo, but also the servo arms. And there's 3 screws to hold that on. So I've got one on and one off just so you could see it. And so I recommend that you take these guards off when you first set up your aircraft to make sure that you've got your Elevon control arms on both servos, you know, dress right dress. So they're exactly the same on the left and the right side, and get them as centered up as you can using sub trim if you have to. I had to use just a little bit of sub trim to get the arms completely horizontal, 90 degrees offset from the horizontal plane of the servos, so that I have maximum amount of travel forward and backward on them. And that worked out really well. And here's a close-up of the servo. So you can see how they've got these pockets designed here. And so everything is nice and neat and tidy. Really thought out very well. The one thing that they also did on this aircraft that I wish all manufacturers would do is they've got a hatch here where you can actually get to the EDF unit. You know, the motor and the EDF fan, the wiring. On all my other EDF jets that I have, well, except for one. All the other EDF jets I have except for one, the only way I can get to the EDF unit is to cut the foam. So I'm really glad that they actually made a compartment here where you can get to the EDF unit. So it's got a foam tab that fits under the front section here, and then it's got a single screw that'll go in here to secure it. So, and then we'll look at it here. So now I've got the compartment removed. You can see how nice and tidy that is on the inside. This is a 50mm EDF unit. It has a 5-blade fan. The motor is unmarked, so I don't know what the size or the KV is of the motor. I can tell you after the first flight session that I had with it, if you guys watched the first flight that I had with it, it seemed to have pretty good power on 3S. I was able to pull some very large loops with it. And it also looks like the way I'm flying, I'm going to be able to get between 4 to 5 minutes of flight time with the battery that I'm using for that 1500 milliamp hour 3S LiPo, which is pretty darn respectable for EDF jets. Most of the EDF jets that I have, the maximum amount of flight I can get with mine are about 4 minutes. So 4 to 5 minutes is pretty darn good. All right, so we're back to the beginning. If you don't need landing skids, you're going to be a lot lighter than I am. My landing skids weigh 28 grams. My battery that I have in there weighs 125 grams. I think the fuselage, the aircraft without the landing skids and without the battery in it, weighs 313 grams. So my all-up weight on this right now, I believe, is, last time I weighed, I think it was 467 grams. In the specs, they list a flying weight of 480 grams, so I'm a little bit under that, even with the landing skids installed in it. So I'm real happy about that, and it seems to handle really well that way. And like I said, it has pretty good power with the 3S LiPo in it. One thing that I plan on doing once I get this all tuned out and flying and handling exactly the way I want, I will publish my setup on here on TinkerzLab. But once I get it set up on 3S, get it flying really well, I think what I'm going to do is upgrade my ESC so that I can also fly it on 4S. So stay tuned for that. As soon as I get my setup golden, I will publish my setup for you guys. Last time I checked, they only had 8 of these available in the U.S. warehouse, and it was less than $120 for the plug and fly. That's outstanding for a 50mm EDF jet. That is really, really inexpensive. I don't know if they'll be getting more of these units in once they sell out their current inventory. So if you're interested in this, and I think this makes a really good beginner EDF jet, it's fairly docile on 3S, very stable, and has good slow flight capability. I can cruise around at 55% throttle, and you get decent flight time with it. So if you're interested in this, I would go ahead and pull the trigger on it, because I don't know if they will keep these in inventory. All right, so stay tuned. That's a wrap on this episode. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time in the Tinker's Lab.